Now, I've been down and out the last couple of days with broken ribs. So to all of you people that's been sending me well wishes, text messages, I want to say thank you to every last one of you. To those of you that had my number and didn't, fuck you. But anyways, guys, thank you guys so much for being patient. We are back here on the channel. Tomorrow we'll be back full-time, live streams, all of that shit to start a new week. But today what I want to talk about here on the channel is, did Bryan have help? Now, there's a few posts that's come out, plus a motion for discovery. There's some things that lead me to believe that, well, maybe he did have help. If you think about when he was arrested, one of the first questions he asked was anyone else arrested? I'm thejbgunner. This is Crime Time. Let's go ahead and get right on into this. Let's do it.
Bring it back.
Now, you're gonna have to bear with me a little bit because breathing in hurts. Plus, I'm bloated as shit. I haven't been able to get out and do anything. I've literally gained fucking almost 20 pounds in a few days just because I can't move. I'm broken rib, can't fuck, can't do nothing. It's a bad day. It's a bad moment. But anyways, guys, we're about to get right on into this story because it's a topic I definitely want to talk about. And today I'll also be recording quite a few videos in regards to this case and a couple others for tomorrow. Hopefully you guys will enjoy them videos. Before we get into this, though, I want to say first and foremost, thank you to everybody that supports the channel, regardless of the method you choose, whether it's Cash App, Patreon. Well, it can't be Cash App. Motherfuckers keep taking it down. Patreon, Venmo, PayPal. Guys, truth is, I couldn't do this each and every day as often as I do if it wasn't for you, the Gun Squad. So thank you guys so much. And thank you to everybody that was still supporting the channel while I was down and out. I appreciate you. And if you too want to join the Gun Squad, if my message has value to you, feel free to hit the links down below. Guys, we're going to jump right into this because, listen, from the very beginning, things just haven't added up. And tomorrow I'm going to be doing a video on kind of the time frame. I just got a question to ask you, okay? If Bryan Kohberger killed these people and sped off in a white Elantra at 4:20 a.m., then what the fuck was the video from the gas station at 3:45 a.m. speeding away out of town? We'll talk about that in a little bit because I don't think it's the same Elantra. I don't think it's, guys, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I don't think this is as home run as y'all think it is. We'll get to some of that, though, because his former lawyer doesn't think so either. But let's jump into this. If you guys remember, on December 30th, Bryan Kohberger was arrested for the slayings of the Idaho Four. For you guys that do not know what I'm talking about, four Idaho, University of Idaho students were slain brutally in their beds as they slept, for the most part, on November 13th, I believe it was, 2022. And with that being the case, about a month later, a little bit more than a month and a half later, Bryan Kohberger, this man right here, was arrested for their murder. He's a PhD student, in my opinion, highly intelligent, highly logical person. However, if he did this, not a drop of common sense, not an ounce of common sense. We ran over this on the channel. I think right now all evidence is pointing towards Bryan Kohberger being guilty, but I don't think anybody can say for sure, because if we believe in America, we believe innocent until proven guilty. I personally decide to take that measure, to that stance. He's innocent until proven guilty. I don't think Richard Allen did Delphi either, but that's just me. Maybe you guys have a different opinion, and you're always entitled to put that in the comment section. Now, if you remember that same exact day that Bryan Kohberger got arrested, right here, Idaho murder suspect Bryan Kohberger allegedly asked police if anyone else had been arrested. Now, you and me, we talked about this. And that's kind of a strange question. I've been arrested a few times, and the last thing I said, hey, was anybody else get arrested? That sounds like something you say if maybe there was a co-defendant, which we'll get to that here in just a second. Now, I know a lot of you guys are saying, well, no, that was just Bryan trying to outsmart people. I thought you guys said Bryan Kohberger was dumb. You got to make up your mind. Either he's dumb or he's slick and smart. A lot of you guys don't know which one it is. A lot of you guys are on the fence. In moments like this, you want to say, no, that was just him being smart. But in everything else, you believe that he left all this evidence behind. But he was smart enough to, in the heat of the moment when he got arrested, to say, did anybody else get arrested? You see what I'm saying? You think he's smart enough to play that mind manipulation game, but dumb enough in every other possibility, including leaving an eyewitness, right? But anyway, let's get on back to this. The minute this question was asked, all of us said, hold on, what did he ask this for? Because if you remember right, we always kind of believed there wasn't just one person. Whether we're talking about the frat boys when we thought maybe it could have been them, we still thought it was both of the Davids, right? When we're talking about, hell, there was even part of us that thought that Jack D and Jack S was working together. Now, I always thought there was one of the two, and then maybe, something else. Who the fuck knows? But for the most part, and then there's people out you that believe it was drug related. Now, here's my take on this. You people that have the drug theory, you guys might be closer than anyone, if you ask me. Currently, right now, the drug theory thing looks to be potentially the motive for the crime. We'll get to that. It depends on how you look at it, right? But okay, so obviously Kohberger allegedly asked if anyone else had been arrested. Now we have the motion for discovery, which is being filed. I believe that's what this is, the motion for discovery. Let's see here. So basically what we have here, in the district of the 2nd Judicial District of our state of Idaho and the county of Latah. Let's check this out, okay? The state of Idaho versus Bryan Kohberger. It says, to the prosecuting attorney comes now Bryan D. Kohberger, by and through their attorney of record, Ann Taylor, public defender, and pursuant to Rule 16 of the Idaho Rules of Criminal Procedure, the Idaho Rules of Evidence, the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 8th and 14th Amendments to the Constitution of the United States, Articles blah, 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 of the Constitution of the State of Idaho, hereby request disclosure of information, evidence, and materials pursuant to ICR blah, blah, blah. This is essentially discovery. They want to know what you got, right? Let's go ahead and take a look. And the aforementioned constitutional provisions, including but not limited to the following information. I want you to understand, evidence and materials, including to, but not limited to, the following information. Statements of the defendant. Permit the defendant to inspect and copy. Let's go ahead and to inspect, to inspect and copy any relevant written or recorded statements made by the defendant himself or copies thereof within the possession, custody, or control of the state. So this is any statements that Bryan Kohberger has made, the existence of which is known or is available to the prosecuting attorney by the exercise of due diligence. And also the substance of any relevant and oral statement made by the defendant, whether before or after the arrest to a peace officer, which we all know he's done on the airplane, right? Prosecuting attorney or his agent, and the recorded testimony of the defendant before a grand jury, which relates to the offense charged. Check out number 2 right here. Statements of the co-defendant. Now, let me say something to you. I've never had a co-defendant. And do you know what none of my paperwork ever said? Co-defendant. Let this sink in for just a second. And trust me, I've been down the road more than most of y'all watching. Never on any of my paperwork has the phrase co-defendant ever existed. Do you know why that is? It's because I've never had a co-defendant. People don't write co-defendant unless there's a co-defendant. Let's get back to this. Statements of the co-defendant. Any written or recorded statements by a co-defendant and the substance of any relevant oral statement made by a co-defendant, whether before or after an arrest in response to interrogation by any person known by the co-defendant to be a peace officer or agent of the prosecuting attorney, of which otherwise relevant to the offense charged. Defendant's prior record. A copy of the defendant's prior record, if any, is then or may become available to the prosecuting attorney, which this is very normal. A lot of times when we're going through pretrial conference and we're going through all this, we get a copy of our record, we get all of our affidavits involved in the case, which I assure you, Bryan Kohberger he definitely has the affidavits involved with his case. Even the shit you don't get to see, right? Documents and tangible objects. Permit the defendant to inspect and copy all books, papers, documents, photographs, that includes crime scene, tangible objects and copies and portions thereof, which are in the possession or control of the prosecuting attorney and which are material to the preparation of the defense or intended for by use of the prosecutor as evidence. So they're asking him basically for anything. The weapons, the sheath, papers, books, anything like that they confiscated from his house, documents, photographs, which would mean the crime scene photographs. So this is a request for full discovery. Reports of examinations and tests. Permit the defendant to inspect and copy any results or reports of physical or mental examinations and of specific scientific tests or experiments made in connection with the particular case. That's interesting. DNA, things like that, right? That are in possession, custody, or control of the prosecuting attorney in connection with the particular case. Oh, well, we just said that. State witnesses. We all know there's state witnesses. Provide a written list of the names, addresses, phone numbers, and or other reasonable means of contact for all persons having knowledge of relevant facts who may be called by the prosecuting attorney as witnesses at the trial, together with the NCIC report and Spielman report of any such persons. They're going to get all the reports on Dylan and all of these people. This is where they're going to go. Provide the statements made by prosecution witnesses or prospective witnesses made to the prosecuting attorney or their agents or to any official involved in the investigatory process of the case. This includes statements to employees of the prosecutor's office, such as witness coordinators and all members of any law enforcement agency that's had any involvement in the matter. They want all statements. Expert witnesses. Provide a written summary or report of any testimony that the state intends to produce. Basically, expert witnesses, that would be the DNA people, anybody like that. Police reports. Provide to the defendant all reports, all memoranda, and all rough notes of field notes of any agents, officers, or investigators involved in the investigation or prosecution of the defendant. Digital media recordings. I'm interested to see why that exists. Audio and video files, which means there's audio and video files, but this chances are it means body camera footage. Released to digital media that may or may not contain protected information as defined by ICR. Whatever. The prosecuting attorney must state whether the disclosure contains protected information. Unredacted digital media. Release unredacted digital media to defense counsel for the purpose of expediting a resolution to the case prior to the trial or hearing, just in case a plea bargain exists. That's crazy, right? That's crazy. Redacted digital media. Provide redacted versions of digital media along with a written explanation of the information that was redacted if the prosecuting attorney determines that the digital media contains protective information requiring redaction prior to disclosure. Search warrants. Provide all documentation to support any of the search warrants issued in connection with this case. Applications for search warrants, whether granted or denied. So all search warrant material. Exculpatory evidence. Provide to the defendant all material evidence within the scope. Anyway, so we pretty much understand what all of this is. Any or in all favorable or exculpatory evidence, information, and documents. Inducement. Provide to the defendant all documents pertaining to the existence and substance of any payments, promises of leniency. Listen, this is very, very, very important. It's already talked about a co-defendant. Listen to what I'm saying right now. Any Provide to the defendant any documents pertaining to the existence and substance of any payments, promises of leniency, preferential treatment, or other inducements or threats made to prospective witnesses within the scope of the case law right there, and their progeny. Identification. Disclosure of whether a defendant or any other person was identified by a lineup, show-up, photo spread, or similar identification proceeding relating to the offense charge, and production of any pictures utilized or resulting therefrom, the names, addresses, phone numbers, blah, 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 of the witnesses. And then it says evidence, blah, blah, blah. So, what did we learn there? We have a co-defendant, ladies and gentlemen. In my opinion, that's what this means. And not just by the fact that it said co-defendant. And listen, I get it. All you fucking internet nerds that's never been locked up in your entire life, you have no fucking clue what you're talking about. Most of you people just watch 48 Hours and shit. I had a motherfucker argue with me the other day, legitimately. They said, well, they've only released a small amount in the affidavit. That's not true. That's not true. They're probably only leaving 10 to 15% out of the affidavit. It's the truth. How do I know these things? Because I went through cases, some of them like this. The reality of this is a lot of you guys watch too much TV and you read too much on the internet and you think it's true. The affidavit was probably 80%, 80 to 85% of what they have. That's the truth. Because you gotta make sure you get the warrant for arrest. And if they had, let me make this very clear. Certain things, I know some of you are like, well, they gotta have Bryan's DNA. No, they don't. Not if he was, they don't have to have it, no. The touch DNA and all of that is probably all they got, because if they had anything else, they would have used it. If they had anything more than touch DNA, they would have used that. Because touch DNA isn't necessarily going to get the job done or even the arrest warrant. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. A lot of you guys, you've just never been through this. And I'm telling you now, paperwork does not say co-defendant unless there's a co-defendant. Paperwork does not talk about offers of leniency unless there's someone to offer leniency to. That's the honest to God truth. And make no mistake about it, when you see these detectives and shit out here doing YouTube channels and they're trying to tell you, no, they haven't released all the evidence, that's not true. A lot of these people are just people that do investigations and make arrests. They don't really fucking know about the court proceedings themselves until they're called as a fucking witness, as a state's witness. All of these detectives, all of these police officers, they have no fucking clue. Not really. About what goes on in the court proceeding like that until they're called as a state's witness. That's all I'm saying. They have some knowledge, but the people that have been through these situations, they typically know. Most of these people, particularly the police or detectives, retired detectives, they don't fucking know unless they're a retired prosecutor. It's just kind of the way, or a retired defense attorney. What the fuck does some beat cop or detective really know about the court system and how it works? They don't go through the fucking trials. They usually are there as just a witness of the state. They come in, they make their statements, and they get the fuck out. I'm posting anonymously. I want you to read this. This right here is an interesting post in a Facebook group. Now, I'm going to start things off by saying I don't believe this post. I don't believe there's any legitimacy to this post at all. But since we're talking about Bryan Kohberger having potentially a co-defendant, since we're talking about Bryan Kohberger potentially having a co-defendant, I'm thinking I should probably read this. I think this is bullshit. I don't think it's legit. I don't think it's real. But I think it's something you motherfuckers should hear. All right? I'm posting anonymously because Bryan is in my family. And you people in this group act like vultures and rabid raccoons. Bryan is innocent, and you will see he has been framed by his drug partner friend, the security guard from the university. Now, that's interesting. That's quite interesting. Since we're talking about partners and co-defendants, maybe there's credence to this. I doubt it, and I'll tell you why here in just a second. They were doing drugs together in the parking lot, as they had done numerous times, but when security guards started acting like a peeping Tom outside the girl's window, and you know what? I'm interested to see what university this security guard was at. We're talking about Idaho, or are we talking about Washington, right? They were doing drugs together in the parking lot, as they had done numerous times, but when security guards started acting like a peeping Tom outside the girl's window, Bryan left security guard and drove back to his apartment. The reason the phone was off is because the battery was flat and security guard was using the car charger. And like I said in a community post, it does make sense. My phone dies every day between 2 and 5 too. Because I put it up on the little thing and I'm usually watching the fucking phone without it plugged in. A lot of times it dies while I'm asleep. Just being honest with you. The reason the phone, okay, we just said that. Bryan put his phone on charge when he left the parking lot, and he switched it back on when he was near to his apartment because that's how long it took to get the phone charge going. Bryan's knife was in the car, and security guard was holding it because he used it to chop the cocaine lines. Now, let me make this clear. Bro, everybody's got IDs and shit. Nobody is using a K-bar knife to chop up cocaine. There ain't a motherfucker. Or, well, I mean, maybe. And they got it on the little edge of the knife, and, you know, it's possible. But let's be honest, ain't nobody using it. That's a big-ass knife to use to chop up cocaine. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? To line shit up. No, that's a big-ass knife. Let's be honest here. So I call bullshit. That's why I don't necessarily believe this post. Okay? Yes, I said cocaine because Bryan stopped using heroin back and substituted the drug with cocaine. He has tried so hard to stop everything, but he's an addict and he has bad migraines, so the cocaine actually helps him. He had no idea security guard was going to do what he did, and he just wanted to teach security guard a lesson by leaving him behind. Bryan actually feels terrible that he left this maniac behind, but it's not his fault. You people need to stop with these singing videos and funny pictures of Bryan and my dad, or we will sue you for everything you have. You can't sue anybody for making fun of you. Bitch, I'm making fun of you. You guys trip me out with that shit. All you just get a life. All you just get a life and stop playing Facebook detectives because you're just a bunch of bored losers that have no morals. I agree with that with a lot of them. I agree with that completely, almost, right? I do. I will say this, I do not believe that statement. I do not believe that statement from that Facebook group came from anyone in Bryan's family. It does need to be read, though, because we're talking about a potential co-defendant. Now, I want you guys to check this shit out as well. This is interesting as well. Now, I'm going to show you something. There's some interesting things here. I'm going to show you 2 posts. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce you to a man by the name of Brent Lee Kopaka. Kopaka is dead. Kopaka is a former Army veteran. Thank you for your service, sir. This is the man that did the shooting that was in the standoff with the SWAT at the university. This is the guy right here. He says, you may remember during the case timeline, before we had a suspect, there was a SWAT shooting in Pullman, and some YouTubers were saying this must be connected. The guy died in the SWAT standoff, and his name was Brent Lee Kopaka. Oh, that hurts. An Army veteran. Remember, my ribs are broke. Here's an obituary, blah, blah, blah. I want you to see this shit. BK reportedly asked the neighbor whether they'd be able to kill someone as a member of the military. In other conversation, the neighbor told CBS Mornings that Kohberger asked if he had watched Netflix's Dahmer, a limited series that tells the story of the notorious serial killer's life. He said that in that conversation, Kohberger mentioned how rare serial killers are. The neighbor recalled a third conversation in which Kohberger asked whether he'd be able to kill someone as a member of the military. Very interesting, huh? Now add up 2 things. Member of the military. Did anyone else get arrested? And this is where the theory kind of comes in, to be perfectly honest, with the shooter. Ethan Chaplin was singled out by his killer for especially brutal, completely barbaric mutilation overkill. That's what they're saying. Is it possible but Brent Lee Kopaka had something to do with this? And we're going to get to this in just a second. Because we're now going to get to this. This is anonymous. I believe this is on Reddit or 4chan or one of these fucking gay-ass sites that all you losers hang out on. Kohberger will be exonerated from the charges of murder. He doesn't have an accomplice. He is the accomplice. Now, I want you to read this. I want you to hear this, because if some of the things he says in this come true, somebody's leaking. He doesn't have an accomplice, Kohberger. He is the accomplice. This post is claiming that Kohberger is the accomplice. Murderer other party is on the run now, wondering if BK has rolled over on them. Yes, he has. That's the answer. It was the first thing he told his attorney in Idaho, in fact. This is why cleanup was halted and private investigation on the scene was ordered. Fixed blade type was Emerson wave point, was the knife used. Kabar's sheath was a plant. Not plant by cops, plant by killer. Killer double-crossed the driver. The PhD student, driver, he paid to teach him how to get away with murder. Now remember the study that they were talking about back in the day, right? There's no honor amongst thieves. They're working on securing a warrant now, bringing Dylan in Monday, that's tomorrow, to begin extended questioning. Not a victim, not as a victim, not as a witness either. Figure it out. 911 call and body cam footage from Moscow Police Department recording to the murder scene will be released next week. I'm hearing Wednesday. Shit is about to get crazy as fuck. Real life game of Clue. I've been saying that since the beginning. This is crazy, right? Here's another one. Anonymous ID. They will protect Kopaka to no end. And they will kill me or discharge me for uttering these words. Or discharge me. Kohberger was a criminal informant giving information regarding the distribution of cocaine and MDMA at 112 King Road. The cops don't want anyone knowing that they fucked up and got the wrong dude. Kopaka was fucking nuts, and he was suicidal. We know he and Kohberger became pretty tight. I don't know if Kohberger had the balls to murder 4 people, but Kopaka, without a doubt, did not give a fuck. Keep digging if you want. It will only get hairy. This is the only correspondence I make. Any others claiming to be me are fakes. My passphrase is rivalry week, but I'll never have to use it. Good luck, gents. So what we're seeing and what we're hearing, ultimately, I don't believe necessarily any of those posts. But I'll tell you what I do believe, the court paperwork. The court paperwork says there's a co-defendant. And I get it. Some of you people are going to say, well, it could be his dad. You're a fuck up. You're a fuck up for saying that. You're a complete fuck up for saying that. His co-defendant is his dad. You're talking about the same guy that's cleaning up glass from his house that never got arrested, right? Did anybody else get arrested? You have to remember that. You have to ask yourself why he said that. In my opinion, Bryan Kohberger had help, or maybe he is the patsy. He is the fall guy. He is the Lee Harvey Oswald. I know that sounds crazy, but explain to me the co-defendant shit. And if you've never been arrested, I don't want to hear you explain it, because you're just some nerd on the internet. Stop it. I don't want to hear it at all. To anybody else that's been arrested, has any of your paperwork ever said co-defendant when there was no co-defendant? I don't want some soccer mom Karen bitch in my comment section saying, yeah, I know. No, bitch, you don't know. Shut up. Go suck a dick. Go make a sandwich. Go do something else. But to anyone that's ever been arrested, I would like to know your thoughts. Has your paperwork ever said co-defendant when there was no co-defendant? Ever? Have they ever mentioned offers of leniency when there was no co-defendant to offer leniency to? I'm just curious. And then I got something else I want to show you, as a matter of fact. I got something else I want to show you before we get up out of here. Let me ask you a question. Victim right notification form, right? Let me ask you a question. Clearly, on this one, we see Mortensen. Who the fuck is KL and SL? And why are they on victim rights notification? Huh? By the way, this is the log, the case log. Why in the fuck is there two initials that we've never heard of, and why do they exist under victim rights notification? Who are these strange people? Who are these strange initials? Because they also exist right here under no contact order. They also exist right here under no contact order. And this was on the 5th, the 6th. I'd like to know who KL and SL is. Maybe it's some initials that I haven't put together yet. So maybe you guys can help me out with that. Curious what you guys think. Did Bryan Kohberger work alone? I don't think so. I think he's a patsy. I think he's a patsy. Straight up. A dope fiend patsy that somebody else took advantage of. And I think you guys were right. I think drugs are heavily involved in this. Don't talk about the victims, JB. You don't know if they were on drugs. Yes, I do. College kids are on drugs. Stop it. College kids do drugs, get their dick sucked, and drink. Let me know what you guys think. If you guys like what I do here, feel free to hit the links down below. Support the channel today. I don't think I'm going live today. This rib is fucking killing me. As you can see, I was slow, not very energetic, not very funny. Ha ha, bitches. Wasn't very funny today. But I had to get this video out here to you. You guys have waited long enough. I love you guys, and I'm sorry for the wait. I'm thejbgunner. This is Crime Time. I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.